What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Big thanks to all you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. And a big thanks to the sponsor for today's video, Underdog. Now, Underdog is a skills-based app where you could choose your favorite player to go higher or lower on stats like points, assists, rebounds, steals, and more. And if you guess right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So, scan this QR code right here and use promo code basketballfan to get $75 in bonus entries on your first $5 entry. Now, as of late, I've been doing pretty well on my hot streaks with underdogs, doing the research, looking at the different matchups as well as certain streaks players I've had, and I've been going lower on a lot of my picks, and it's resulted pretty well up until Jimmy Butler went down. Now, I'm trying to restart that streak, but hell, you could beat me to it by scanning the QR code and signing up today. Now, since my streak has ended and the Warriors streak has ended as well, they've been tough to watch. And I see where it is, but last night's game against the Mavericks it was good and bad at the same time from the perspective that the Warriors did play well. They did suffice without Jimmy, but because they were so reliant on the three-point shot, it was just hard to watch. Now, again, they did hit over 35%. I believe the total was 37% from three, but in that first half, outside of a few shots that Steph hit, nobody could hit water falling out of a boat. I saw them, they dished it to Quentin Post. He threw it up when he was wide open, could have moved in a little bit for a higher percentage shot, but no, still shot the three. And in all honesty, at a certain point, look, if you're getting open shots, just make the shots. And if they're not falling, dribble in a little bit because it was tough to watch. It was like, it's like trying to make non-3-point shooters 3-point shooters. And I understand that Buddy Hield is one of the premier 3-point snipers in the history of the game, but he was not hitting them last night, and it just looked like guys who aren't used to hitting or shooting threes were shooting threes and constantly missing. And it was painful to watch. Now, I get that the Warriors came back, but the fact that they blew it in the end, it hurts because this was not a fully staffed Mavericks team. It was Cooper Flagg, a couple other players. I think Max Christie was playing, and it was a lot of bench players. I did see Klay Thompson playing, who just has been absolutely killing it as of late. But nobody was there was no reason the Warriors should have lost this game. And even though it was a tight game, and I do appreciate that, they should have won this game by at least 5 or 6. And now with another game coming up against a playoff team in the Timberwolves, they have absolutely no momentum, and it's potentially even worse because if they go 0 for 3 since Jimmy went down, I am very concerned with the trade deadline less than 2 weeks away, and the Warriors, they're trying to go after a championship. But look, the timeline is pretty apparent. Summer of 2027, it's game over. The dynasty window has closed, and there is no reopening it. So they need to do something, or at least start winning, and as build momentum going into the trade deadline. Maybe they do find a trade that does favor them because they do have some decent assets when you think about it from an objective financial perspective. And when I'm talking about the objective financial perspective, I'm talking about the fact that within the next 18 months, the Warriors have a lot of cap space coming to them. Like I said, Jimmy is a free agent, Kuminga's a free agent, Draymond's a free agent, and Steph is a free agent. And outside of Moses Moody, there is no guaranteed money on the Warriors' books. And how the league has been evolving, having financial flexibility is the most essential thing you can have moving forward. Now, that being said, the way Klay Thompson played last night really intrigued me. And the reason it intrigued me was because it was vintage Klay Thompson the entire game. Since everybody has gone down for the Warriors outside of Cooper Flagg, Klay Thompson's been averaging, I believe it was the stat they showed on Prime, was 17.5 points per game, shooting 50% from downtown. And he was knocking him down like that one game where he scored 60 points in 29 minutes on 11 dribbles. He was just knocking him down because, like, him versus everybody else the Warriors had playing for them, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like Klay Thompson knows how to shoot a three. Everybody on the Warriors outside of Steph didn't. So bringing him back and bringing him back into the fold could be one of the best moves the Warriors could make going into this trade deadline. And what makes it even better for both the Warriors and the Mavs is we know the Mavs, they're in a position where they can't really compete for a postseason spot. This season is pretty much a wash, and they got to continue to build around the likes of Cooper Flag and see how that goes. Now, they do have multiple distressed assets in Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, but I think there is something that can be worked out here in regards to making a deal to not only bring Klay back, but to get a distressed asset in Anthony Davis. And I think that deal is you bring back Klay Thompson, you trade away Kuminga and, say, Jimmy Butler in exchange for Anthony Davis, who pretty much has no suitors right now because he is a distressed asset, and as well as Klay Thompson because you're getting a younger player who's under team control through the end of next year in exchange for a older player but who fits into that kind of lineup over Golden State, knows how the offense is run, and could be a seamless fit going in. Now, why would Dallas do that? Like I said, it's one distressed asset for another, and a younger player is included. Because you think about it, at full health, Kyrie, Jimmy Butler next year, Cooper Flag, and then Jonathan Kuminga, and they have Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. That's a good young core to have, and there's a lot of money coming off the books at the end of 2027, and that's going to add to the idea they could also attract some top-tier free agents. Now, just to double check, I want to make sure that Kyrie does get off at the end of next summer contract. Yeah, because okay, so he has a player option for 2027-28. So he has the potential to be a free agent, while Jimmy will be a free agent. And also, on top of that, it cuts off the Anthony Davis current extension that goes through 27-28. So I think that's a win when you think about it financially. And when you're in the midst of a rebuild like the Mavericks are, taking on a player like Jimmy Butler, who could be a strong voice in the locker room to go along with Kyrie Irving, is exactly what a young team needs. So I think it's a great trade for both sides. It's a rolling the dice to salvage this season for the Warriors. It brings back a guy that went through a bad breakup with the Warriors, is a legendary Warrior. And you know what? It creates a great reunion story for the Warriors to sort of build momentum on top of as they try and finish the season, make the playoffs, and hopefully make a championship run. Now, fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This weekend on Underdog, I'm specifically looking at the Sixers-Knicks game and choosing Jalen Brunson to go higher than his usual 28.5 points, and for Tyrese Maxey to also go higher on his usual 29.5 points. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BASKETBALLFAN. Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text HOMI 467-369.
Now, the one bright spot that has come from these last two games, even though they have been losses, has been Jonathan Kuminga. And I know he went down with an injury last night and he only played 9 minutes, but he scored 10 points in those 9 minutes. And the night before, or a couple nights before versus Toronto, he scored 20 points in 21 minutes. Now, I get he doesn't want to be a part of Golden State's roster past the trade deadline. And Mike Dunleavy came out and said, yes, you could demand a trade, but there has to be demand. Well, right now, barring any worse injury, and he does play tomorrow night versus the Timberwolves, he's doing whatever he can to create that demand. He is forcing himself to fit into this offense and be a force that helps the Warriors continue to win so they could trade him by the deadline. Maybe it is that trade to bring Klay Thompson back. Maybe it is that trade with Sacramento to bring in Domantas Sabonis and DeMar DeRozan. Maybe it is that trade to bring in LeBron after that little fiasco with article came out with Jeannie Buss and him. But he is showing up and showing out. And if he continues to do so, great things are going to come in his future as well as the Warriors' future. So he's got to make sure that he continues to keep going forward, not let any injuries bother him. And even if he has an injury, play through it, show how tough you are, show how much you are a 90s, early 2000s player playing through injury like Kobe played through that broken finger, and make things happen for the Warriors as the season moves along and as they get closer to the trade deadline. Because if he doesn't, and I want to emphasize this, if he doesn't, he could be with the Warriors through the summer. Next thing you know, they're looking for a different deal in the summer, and he's stuck on a team where he doesn't want to be a part of things. Granted, if he shows up and that happens, he does well, they can't find a suitor, and he stays on the roster through the end of the season, how he reacts to that is going to be essential. Because if he's basically we heard that story about Kawhi Leonard telling Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam at the beginning of the season, he's like, hey, I'm only here for 1 year. That's it. I'm out. I'm not staying. But you know what? I'm going to give it my all, and that's going to be that. If he gives you that kind of energy, he's going to be a real asset regardless of what happens, because in the offseason, they're going to do whatever they can to accommodate a trade for him, and he is going to end up in a spot where he can become a true star. But bottom line is, the Dubs still have to turn it around. It's not just Kuminga who needs to turn it around. It's the rest of the team. They can't be like they were last night and not hitting water falling out of a boat from deep, because it was hard to watch. Yes, I understand that they hit 30% of their threes last night, but that's just not going to cut it. They have to start looking at the basket and say, hey, if I didn't make my last one, I'm wide open. Let's move it in a little bit, get a higher percentage shot. Yes, it may be from two, but those twos do add up over time. I'd rather have, in 3 possessions, 3 made 2-point shots than 1 made 3 and 2 misses. So they have to just realize it's not about how many threes you take. It's about actually getting the best available shot and just making those shots. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, a big thanks to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to sign up using this QR code and use promo code BasketballFan for an extra $75 in bonus entries on your first $5. And a big thanks to all of you guys for liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. Now, if you have any ideas on what a full trade for Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis, that would include Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler, would look like, feel free to comment below, as I do love hearing your thoughts. And as always, go Dubs.